Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of A Zoom with a View. I'm delighted today to be joined by two colleagues from our Moray service, Pauline Forbes, who is our support manager in the Moray service, and Gavin Burtwell, who is one of our peer worker colleagues. Today the subject is peer support, and I really just wanted to kind of get a kind of rough overview as to what peer support is all about, and the value of that kind of lived experience. One of the things that we're especially proud of here at Penumbra is that 20% of our staff teams are employed in peer roles, and they use that valuable lived experience and insight from that to support other people to recovery. And I wonder, Gavin, if I could just maybe hand over to you just to give us an insight into your role, what peer support is all about, and how you work with people and how you use that peer experience to support people.
Sure. Well, I am employed because I have a mental health condition and I am in recovery. So the main part of my job is sharing the positive experiences and the techniques and coping skills that I employ personally with other people to help them manage their mental health condition. Recovery is obviously the name of the game, and recovery means different things to different people, and it's finding out what recovery is for the person that you're working with and helping them attain that, whether that is with or without symptoms, because you can still be in recovery and have symptoms also. So that is the kind of mainstay of my job. We work very much through a values framework. We receive a great deal of training so that we know how to offer peer support in an appropriate manner. So it is the Hear Me is the values framework that we use, which is from the Scottish Recovery Network. So that's from hope, experience, authenticity, people, and why is it clean going out of my head? Mutuality and empowerment. There we go. So that's the values that we follow, and we use that when we are working with somebody. And as I say, it's about sharing our experiences appropriately to help people kind of manage the symptoms that they are facing. Absolutely. It breaks down huge barriers when people kind of know that you have been there too. It's a building up kind of like a mutual kind of understanding and experience with the person, so that you're standing alongside them, and you're not kind of generally kind of a lot of support is being done to people, and there's somebody in a power position kind of over that, whereas that's certainly not how I work and my colleagues work. It is about that kind of shared experience, and it gives people hope because they can see that we are in recovery and managing our lives the best way that we know how, and kind of getting on with things the way that we want to and how we want to. And so they see that that is possible for them. And that gives them hope then to move forward into a way of life that they want and how they want to experience things. And we help to facilitate that for them.
And I guess as well, that means that there's quite a lot of, trust between yourself and the people that you are working with, and that they're able to then kind of think to themselves, well, I trust this person because they've kind of, been through something similar or similar-ish, or even if it's a completely different experience, they know that you've at least got that kind of lived experience that you can draw from,
Absolutely.
And sort of know where they're coming from, I guess.
Indeed, it's you don't necessarily have to have the same mental health condition to be able to work with somebody. It's just knowing the skills and techniques to kind of manage good mental health. And that's very much kind of what we promote. And it's finding out different things from different people as well, and sharing other people's experiences too. I've learned a lot from the people that I've worked with, and I use what I've learned from them with other people also. And with the team as well, we very much are there to help and support each other. And that's very important, that we share our experiences and techniques kind of with each other also, so that we can then further support people that we're working with. Absolutely, and it's about sharing appropriately. I'm not sharing everything of myself, because that's not what the job is. It's about sharing what's appropriate for that particular moment, and it's not for me to have a therapy session or anything like that. It's for me to support people with the positive knowledge that I have and positive information that I have. And certainly would be sharing maybe a struggling time, but it would be how I overcame that struggling time, and the positive that comes out of that. But it's only where it's appropriate with the person that you're speaking to, and it has to some way kind of interlink with their life and their experience. And that's what we're kind of trained to see and to understand, and then to kind of work with. And that's very, very important, that the training that we have to realize what is appropriate to share with people, and the different coping techniques and skills that we research and we use to actually pass these on in an appropriate manner to the person that they're supporting. But it's also, if you don't know something, it's great to sort of say that and then find out together, and then to go and explore further options and opportunities for the person that's there.
And Pauline, I'm going to pull you in here at this point, because in talking about how awesome all of our teams are, one of the things that we've been able to do throughout the whole of lockdown is all of our services have operated and run throughout this period of time, albeit in slightly different ways to how we've managed the services outside of lockdown, obviously with the increase in use of virtual platforms and whatnot. But one of the things that I was quite keen to touch on with yourselves is to understand how you as a service have managed to keep your service going. What changes have you made? How have you adapted in that time throughout lockdown?
Well, I must admit, I'm very proud of how my team has adapted so quickly. Lockdown hit us all pretty quick, and we just changed as best as we could, and we learned so much over time. But initially, our service was very much face-to-face. The support was face-to-face. The group work that we delivered was all face-to-face and personal. And we had to change that overnight to being on the phone. And yeah, there are some times that people prefer to be able to be face-to-face, but there are also those that like to be anonymous and enjoy the fact that they can still receive such a valued service over the phone. It's really opened a wee bit of doors for us. Who knew what Zoom was before lockdown? I certainly didn't. So it really has opened a door. And one of the biggest changes for us is that our building was based in Elgin. The people that came to our service, the highest number was from that Elgin area. And since we have moved out into being virtual, that doors have opened in other communities, more so than Elgin. And I think that has been great. It has meant that we've been able to communicate and positively connect with other people in other areas that may not have wanted to come into Elgin for that service. So it really has set us off in a very positive direction by being virtual.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of finding that although there are lots of challenges with the lockdown situation, it's actually using that kind of digital platform or those virtual platforms, we can still maintain those connections with people, albeit not on a kind of face-to-face basis. And as you say, connecting potentially with more people in that way, then especially with a rural area, if you've maybe got transport issues or people don't have access to car or and that kind of thing. So it's actually given opportunities in a way to kind of connect with more people.
Absolutely.
And your team, Pauline, actually, we were just having a chat earlier on there about the fact that, so across Penumbra, 20% of the staff teams are employed in peer roles, but actually 100% of your team are in peer roles.
It's a fantastic asset to be able to not only employ people with a lived experience. When I speak to staff and speak to some supported people, what sometimes comes across is that that lack of hope is what comes next, what comes after a mental illness. And my peer staff can absolutely showcase that there is so much hope, and we employ people with a lived experience. We want that, and we want to celebrate that. And I think there's more, what more great empowerment can you get than being employed and being able to share how you coped with life in your most difficult moments. And I think that's fantastic. And I think we as a team really support each other. We connect daily and chat. And just today, Gavin was saying, I've come across these different breathing techniques for us as a team. Why don't we come on together and do this little practice together? And I think we're quite good at that as a team to try and stay connected as much as we can. But yeah, I'm very proud of my team being peers who fly the flag.
And I think it's really important, actually, because I think as we've seen, developments in practice and policy over the years, there's more of an emphasis now on, that value of lived experience, where people with that lived experience are kind of feeding into processes and whether that is policy or practice. And obviously in services, people are now employed in those peer roles, which is so valuable.
Yeah.
What kind of response do you find that you get from people who access the service?
Words like, they understood me, they didn't judge, they clicked, we connected, and as Gavin has said, sharing your peer element, your lived experience, is not about telling someone your life story. It's about sharing how you coped. And you may not actually need to share elements of your story, because it's about how you managed. How did you get to this point? And this is what I did, A, B, and C. And some of that may be beneficial for that person. But yeah, that is usually the feedback, is that connection being the main thing, and the lack of judgment. I have heard over my years working in mental health that people sometimes say, no one's going to understand me, no one knows what I'm going through, no one gets me. And often and even sometimes people come to us with that barrier, what are you going to be able to help me with? And as soon as that little bit of peer element is shared, that communication door just breaks down, and it's extremely powerful, and it can just aid that conversation, and it's always very, very powerful and very positive.
Yeah. And it does, I think it does, it breaks down barriers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People kind of,
very much. And you kind of, a lot of people don't actually realise the skills and coping techniques that they already have. And sometimes it's about supporting that and pulling those out and helping people realise the actual strengths and skills that they actually already have and have never been told.
If you strip away those little coping things that people have every day, but if you strip that away, that person might not think too much about it and not think that it's a way of coping. But if you were to take that away, then they will absolutely see that it was a way of coping, and how important that, whatever it is, that nice coffee in the morning with a bit of peace and quiet, or your little dance around the kitchen when you're tidying up, that's all things that you'd maybe say, that's just me, but it's ways of coping with life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all have different ways, even if it is that little treat, that little bit of chocolate at the end of the day, which I certainly do. And it's these kind of small things that can actually build up to be big things. I think we discount the little things that we do in a day as nothing, but they're not. They are actually the building blocks of good mental health, and they are very, very important things.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point and such an important thing to say, because obviously, you know, more than ever we're kind of talking about self-care and looking after ourselves, and you know, I guess maybe the lockdown situation has maybe given us a chance to talk more about mental health and our emotional well-being a wee bit more openly than we have in the past, albeit it's also brought quite a lot of challenges on people as well. But just that idea that people are hopefully kind of getting round to the idea of kind of looking after their emotional well-being as much as their physical well-being is really important. And the idea that we do all have mental health, it's not just something that is sort of an abstract concept that affects, you know, just a certain population and out there. It affects everybody, and we all have it, and we all have to look after it.
Absolutely, I think COVID has very much shown that to the vast population, that we all have mental health, and we've all struggled through this to some degree or another, and it's about how we manage that, and you know, just these little coping techniques and strategies that we employ every day are huge things to be able to maintain a good mental well-being.
Yeah, I think COVID has made us all look at our self-care a wee bit. You know, when we were initially told we had an hour of exercise, but that hour became important to people, and I think it did highlight that element of self-care that people maybe didn't really look at before, and that's been positive. That's been something really good to take out of all of this.
Absolutely.
And so we're always talking about well-being within our staff team as well, but it is a really important thing that, you know, to consider, because obviously we're kind of working in quite pressured environments and quite odd circumstances. But you know, yourselves as a team, you know, I often say that, you know, it's just so important for our staff teams to look after each other as well, because you're dealing with some quite stressful stuff and all these unusual times. But what are the kinds of things that you do as a team, or that you do sort of individually at home or wherever, just to kind of look after yourself? What's your kind of top tips?
As a team, it's good to kind of connect, and we do have a laugh and a joke, and I think that's very important. Humor is very, very important, especially kind of at this time. And I do like to, I maybe just a tad sarcastic, but that always generally gets a bit of a laugh, and we do try to have a laugh as a team within our group chat, you know, at some point through the day, and that certainly kind of helps.
Absolutely. Well, for me, I'm looking forward to the chair yoga this afternoon. So I haven't been able to take part yet, so I'm really looking forward to that today, which I think is a great thing that Penumbra's kind of encouraging our staff to just take a bit of time out to kind of focus on your headspace, really, and focus on that mindfulness. So I'm looking forward to that this afternoon. Another thing that I've found recently, and this comes from our discussions as a team, you know, we chat all the time on WhatsApp, and people share different things. Oh, somebody told me about this today, and I've discovered a fantastic little app, and it checks in on me every day and says, you know, how are you doing today? So I can just respond to the app, and I started navigating it through it, you know. Although I may be happy with the answer, I'll say that I'm not. So to see where else it takes me and what else it can learn me. And it's a great little tool. I found it a nice little check-in, my own little wee buddy in my phone. It's really nice. It's a lovely wee app. And you know, it's about exploring and finding these things. And we come across these as a team, and it's always nice to share and say, guess what we found. It was really good. I like that. Somebody else might not, but they'll have another thing that they enjoy. It's about what suits us, what suits the individual.
Indeed.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's about finding stuff that kind of suits yourself. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that is important. I think it's important for us all to find the little things in our day that helps us. You know, I was just thinking about our chat earlier on, and thinking about, you know, COVID and the challenges that it's brought people. And it's, you know, everyone is a peer in COVID. We've all experienced lockdown and
these situations. And when I think of the different situations that people's in, you know, someone's maybe at home on their own, they're furloughed and they're isolated, and then I look at my situation and we're all at home, we're all working, we're homeschooling, the house is busy, and sometimes I think, gosh, I would love a bit of peace and quiet, but that other person that's isolated would love to swap places with me. And it's, you know, we are all dealing with situations that we don't always understand the opposite side of that scale and what other people are feeling, but it's so, you know, we are all peers in COVID. We have all experienced some challenges along the way, and I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Absolutely, it's important to have that me time.
Yeah.
That's very much kind of one of my kind of wellness tools, is to have a period of time that is just for me. So when my partner goes to bed at night, I have that hour before I go to my bed where it's just for me, just to chill out, to process the day, to process how I'm feeling, and to get that kind of all out before I kind of go to bed, so I can actually settle to sleep. Kind of building in some me time that is just for you and in a positive way. So not necessarily kind of like social media or watching television, even though that can be part of it, but just that kind of time to kind of draw yourself back together.
Yeah.
Pauline and Gavin, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a great conversation, a great insight into peer support and what you guys do up in Moray. Hope to catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.